The most dangerous people in your life are not your enemies. They're the ones you trust. Because enemies can't slow you down, but the wrong people with the right access can quietly ruin your future while smiling in your face. Let me tell you something. Most people learn too late. Your life is not destroyed by strangers. It's destroyed by the people you allow close to you. See, nobody wakes up one day and decides to ruin their life. What they do is trust the wrong people over time, and time plus the wrong influence equals disaster. Today, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to warn you. Because there are 7 types of people who don't look dangerous, don't sound dangerous, but if you keep them close, they will quietly dismantle your future. Person 1, the constant critic. This person never builds, only comments. They disguise negativity as honesty. They call your vision unrealistic because they've never had one. Listen carefully. Someone who attacks your dream while doing nothing with their own life is not wise. They're threatened. Dream killers don't need weapons, they just need opinions. Person 2, the comfort addict. This person is addicted to ease. They hate pressure. They hate growth. They hate discomfort. Anytime you try to level up, they say, relax. Why are you doing so much? You're changing. Yes, you should be changing. People who love comfort will resent your discipline because your growth exposes their stagnation. Person 3, the secret competitor. They smile when you talk, but compare when you walk away. They don't want to see you fail. They just don't want to see you win before them. They'll downplay your progress, minimize your achievements, and subtly hope you slow down. Jealousy rarely announces itself. It whispers. Person 4, the energy vampire. This person is always tired, always stressed, always negative. Every conversation feels heavy. Every interaction drains you. They don't ask how to grow. They ask how to survive. And if you're not careful, you'll start living at their emotional level. You don't need motivation. You need distance. Person 5, the yes person. They agree with everything you say. No correction, no challenge, no truth. They love approval more than honesty. But growth requires friction. If nobody in your life is willing to confront you, you're surrounded by people who care more about comfort than your destiny. Person 6, the boundary violator. They don't respect your time. They don't respect your focus. They don't respect your no. They feel entitled to your energy. Let me be clear. Anyone who doesn't respect your boundaries doesn't respect your future. Access is earned, not assumed. Person 7th, the past anchor. This person only knows the old version of you. They remind you who you used to be. They keep you emotionally tied to outdated identities. But growth requires reinvention. You cannot become new while being constantly reminded of who you were. Not everyone deserves your trust. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your energy. And the moment you learn to protect your circle, you protect your future. Because success isn't just about what you do, it's about who you allow to influence you. Choose wisely. Not everyone who smiles at you is on your side, and that truth is one of the most uncomfortable lessons you will ever have to accept if you want to grow. A smile is easy. Words of encouragement are cheap. Applause costs nothing. But loyalty, alignment, and genuine support are expensive and very rare. Many people will celebrate you publicly while quietly hoping you never outgrow them. They will nod while you speak about your goals, but internally question why you think you deserve more. They will compliment your progress, yet feel uneasy when they realize you are actually serious about changing your life. Some people smile because it benefits them to stay close to you. Access has value. Proximity has power. Being near someone with vision, discipline, or momentum makes people feel important without requiring them to become better themselves. So they stay close, not to contribute, but to consume. They like how your ambition makes them feel, not what it demands from them. And as long as your growth doesn't disrupt their comfort, everything seems fine. The moment it does, the smile changes, not visibly, but subtly. The support becomes conditional. The encouragement becomes quieter. The energy shifts. You have to understand this. People don't always sabotage you by attacking you. Most sabotage is passive. It shows up as hesitation when you need urgency, doubt when you need belief, and silence when you need truth. It shows up as advice that sounds reasonable, but is rooted in fear. Be careful. Don't rush. You might be doing too much. These words don't sound harmful, but repeated over time, they train you to shrink. And the most dangerous part is that they often come from people who genuinely believe they care about you. But caring about you and being aligned with your future are not the same thing. Some smiles hide insecurity. When your growth highlights someone else's stagnation, it creates internal tension. Instead of rising, many people cope by minimizing your progress. They don't want you to fail. They just don't want to feel left behind. So they subtly reframe your ambition as unrealistic, your discipline as obsession, your standards as arrogance. They won't say it outright, but you'll feel it. Conversations become shorter. Support becomes selective. Your wins are acknowledged quickly and forgotten even faster. And then there are those who smile because they benefit from the version of you that doesn't change. They like you accessible, available, and predictable. Your growth threatens the dynamic. New boundaries reduce their control. New standards limit their access. New priorities expose how much time they used to take from you without giving much in return. So they smile and encourage you to stay the same. Not because it's best for you, but because it's best for them. This is why discernment matters more than charisma. You cannot judge people by how they act when you are stagnant. You must observe how they respond when you evolve. Who claps when you win? Who listens when you speak about growth? Who respects your boundaries without guilt-tripping you? And who subtly pressures you to remain familiar instead of becoming better? Smiles don't answer these questions. Patterns do. If you are serious about your future, you must accept that alignment is rare and misunderstanding is part of growth. Outgrowing people doesn't mean you hate them. It means you refuse to let comfort, familiarity, or false harmony cost you your destiny. The truth is simple but heavy. Not everyone who smiles at you wants to see you win. Some just want to stay close enough to feel safe while you do the hard work. And if you don't learn to tell the difference, you won't be betrayed loudly, you'll be delayed quietly. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. And this is the truth that humbles even the most disciplined people. Willpower is finite. It gets tired. It weakens under stress, distraction, and emotional pressure. Your environment, on the other hand, works on you constantly, whether you are aware of it or not. It shapes your habits, influences your decisions, and quietly rams what you begin to see as normal. You don't rise or fall only because of what you want. You rise or fall because of what surrounds you every single day. You can be motivated in the morning and distracted by night. You can be focused for a week and derailed by a single conversation. That's not a character flaw, it's human nature. When the people around you normalize excuses, comfort, and delay, resisting that influence requires constant effort. And effort without reinforcement eventually breaks. This is why so many people know what to do, but rarely do it consistently. Their intentions are strong, but their environment is stronger. Your environment speaks to you even when no one is talking. It shows you what is acceptable, what is expected, and what is rewarded. If mediocrity is common around you, excellence begins to feel extreme. If complaining is normal, discipline feels unnecessary. If procrastination is joked about, urgency feels unnatural. Over time, you don't even realize you've adjusted. You just start matching the energy of the room. And the scariest part is that this adjustment feels comfortable, not dangerous. People often say, I just need more discipline, when what they really need is a different setting. You don't need to fight temptation if temptation isn't constantly in front of you. You don't need extraordinary focus if distractions aren't built into your daily life. But when your environment constantly pulls you away from your goals, willpower turns in to a losing battle. You spend all your energy resisting instead of progressing. Eventually, exhaustion masquerades as failure. Your environment also includes the conversations you hear repeatedly, the attitudes you're exposed to, the standards that are reinforced or ignored. If everyone around you talks about limitations, you will eventually internalize them. If growth is mocked, you will hesitate to pursue it openly. If ambition is treated as arrogance, you will start explaining yourself instead of expanding yourself. None of this happens overnight. It happens slowly, quietly, and convincingly. This is why change feels so difficult even when the desire is real. You're trying to build a new future while standing in an old atmosphere. You're attempting discipline in a space designed for distraction. You're trying to grow in a place that rewards staying the same. Willpower was never meant to carry that weight alone. It was meant to be supported, not tested constantly. When you upgrade your environment, progress becomes natural instead of forced. Good decisions require less effort. Focus becomes easier to maintain. Momentum builds without constant motivation. You stop relying on emotional strength and start benefiting from structural support. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. Strong people don't rely solely on self-control. They design their surroundings to pull them forward. If you truly want to change your life, don't just ask how strong your willpower is, ask what your environment is training you to become. Because in the long run, you will not become what you want most. You will become what you are surrounded by most. These people don't destroy you loudly, they drain you quietly, and that is exactly why they are so dangerous. Loud destruction is easy to recognize. You can see betrayal, hear insults, feel open opposition. Quiet destruction is different. It happens in moments you barely notice, conversations that seem harmless, and interactions that leave you slightly more tired than before. Nothing feels wrong enough to confront, yet over time something feels missing, your energy, your clarity, your momentum. You can't point to one incident, one argument, or one person, but you feel slower, heavier, less sharp than you used to be. Quiet drainers rarely create chaos, they create fatigue. They don't push you backward aggressively, they simply keep you from moving forward fully after being around them. You don't feel inspired or focused, you feel mentally cluttered, your enthusiasm lowers, your urgency fades, you start second-guessing ideas that once felt clear. That's how you know the damage is happening, not through pain, but through depletion. These people often appear harmless because they don't demand much on the surface. They just talk, they vent, they complain, they share their problems repeatedly without ever changing anything. And without realizing it, you become a container for their emotional weight. Every conversation revolves around what's wrong, what's unfair, what's stressful. There's no curiosity about solutions, no hunger for growth, just recycling the same frustrations. You leave those interactions feeling like you worked a full shift without getting paid. What makes this even more dangerous is that quiet drainers are often familiar, friends, relatives, colleagues, people you've known for years. That familiarity lowers your guard. You excuse the impact because of history. You tolerate the drain because you don't want to seem cold or selfish. But your nervous system keeps score even when your logic makes excuses. Your body knows when something is costing you too much. They also drain you by normalizing small forms of negativity. A sarcastic comment here, a doubtful reaction there, a subtle eye roll when you talk about growth. None of it feels severe enough to address, but together it forms a pattern. Over time, you begin to share less. You simplify your goals when you speak. You stop expressing excitement because it isn't received well. That is quiet erosion of self-expression. And it's one of the fastest ways to shrink without realizing it. These people don't tell you not to grow. They just don't support it. They don't stop you outright. They slow you down. They ask questions that sound reasonable but are rooted in fear. They emphasize risks but ignore rewards. They highlight obstacles without discussing strategy. And slowly, you adopt their caution as wisdom, their hesitation as realism. What you call being practical becomes disguised self-doubt. The most dangerous part is that you can remain productive while being drained. You still show up, you still work, you still move forward, but at a fraction of your potential. Your progress becomes harder than it needs to be. Everything feels like effort instead of flow. You think the problem is discipline or motivation, when in reality, your energy is leaking through relationships that constantly pull instead of pour. Quiet drainers rarely intend to harm you. Many are simply stuck, overwhelmed, or emotionally unregulated, but intent does not cancel impact. You are responsible for protecting your energy, not managing everyone else's emotions. If you don't become selective about who has access to you, you will spend your best years emotionally subsidizing people who have no intention of changing. The truth is uncomfortable but necessary. Anything that consistently drains you without contributing to your growth will eventually cost you more than you can afford. Not all damage comes from explosions. Some damage comes from slow leaks, and if you don't seal them, you won't collapse suddenly. You'll just wake up one day wondering where your fire went. Access is more dangerous than opposition because opposition can only confront you from the outside, but access operates from within. An opponent has limits. They don't know your thoughts, your fears, your plans, or your weak moments. They can only guess. But someone with access, he Ours your doubts before they become decisions. They see your habits before they become results. They influence your thinking long before you ever take action. And that influence, repeated over time, shapes outcomes more than any visible enemy ever could. Opposition sharpens you. It forces clarity. When someone openly disagrees with you, you know where you stand. You prepare. You adapt. You become stronger because resistance demands awareness. But access bypasses resistance. It doesn't challenge you directly. It blends into your routine. It becomes familiar, comfortable, trusted. And because it feels safe, you stop evaluating it. That's when it becomes dangerous. People with access don't need to block your path. They just need to redirect your attention. They don't need to destroy your confidence. They just need to dilute it. A casual comment, a repeated doubt, a well-timed distraction. None of these look like attacks, yet each one nudges you slightly off course. Over time, small deviations create massive distance from where you were meant to go. Access means proximity to your mind. The ideas you hear most often become the ideas you consider first. The perspectives you're exposed to repeatedly begin to feel like your own. This is why the wrong voices in your life can quietly rewrite your standards. What once felt unacceptable starts to feel normal. What once felt urgent starts to feel optional. You don't abandon your goals. You slowly renegotiate them downward. What makes SS especially dangerous is that it feels earned. You believe trust justifies influence. History justifies tolerance. Familiarity justifies loyalty. But time alone does not qualify someone to shape your future. Just because someone has been in your life for years does not mean they should have a say in where your life is going next. Yet many people give lifelong influence to those who have never demonstrated growth, discipline, or vision. Opposition can't drain you emotionally the way access can. You don't open your heart to your enemies. You don't seek their approval. You don't explain your dreams to them. But with access, you lower your guard. You share. You listen. You internalize. And if the person with access is limited by fear, insecurity, or complacency, those limitations begin to leak into your thinking. Access also determines your emotional climate. The people closest to you affect how you interpret stress, failure, and opportunity. If they panic, you hesitate. If they complain, you lose gratitude. If they settle, you soften your standards. You may still be capable, still talented, still driven, but your edge dulls. Not because you lack ability, but because the environment created by access slowly reshapes your responses. This is why boundaries matter more than confrontation. You don't need to fight everyone who disagrees with you. You need to be intentional about who gets close enough to influence you consistently. Access should be intentional, not automatic. It should be earned through alignment, not granted through convenience. If you truly want to protect your future, stop focusing only on who opposes you and start examining who influences you, because opposition can only challenge your progress, but unchecked access can quietly control it. Growth requires separation before elevation, and this is one of the hardest truths to accept because it forces you to let go before you are fully comfortable with where you are going. Most people want the next level without releasing the current one. They want new results while holding on to old habits, old relationships, and old environments. But elevation demands space. You cannot rise while being anchored to everything that once felt familiar. Separation is not rejection, it is alignment. It is the decision to move away from what no longer supports who you are becoming. This is difficult because attachment often disguises itself as loyalty. You stay connected, not because it is healthy, but because it is familiar. You tolerate misalignment because you don't want to be misunderstood. You delay change because you fear being seen as distant, ungrateful, or different. But growth does not ask for permission, and it does not wait for everyone to understand it. Before every significant elevation, there is a season of discomfort, a quiet distancing, a shift in priorities, conversations change, interests evolve, time is reallocated. You begin to feel out of place in rooms that once felt like home. S isn't arrogance, it's awareness. You are no longer energized by what used to sustain you. What once felt normal now feels limiting. That tension is not a problem, it is a signal. Separation challenges your identity because so much of who you think you are is tied to who you are connected to. When you begin to outgrow certain spaces or people, it forces you to confront a deeper question. Are you committed to comfort or to becoming? Elevation requires you to choose the unknown over the familiar, potential over predictability, growth over approval. That choice is rarely applauded. Often it is met with confusion or resistance. People may misinterpret your separation as judgment. They may assume you think you are better than them. In reality, you are simply becoming more intentional. You are no longer available for distractions disguised as relationships. You are no longer investing energy where there is no return in growth, respect, or alignment. This does not mean you lack compassion. It means you understand capacity. You cannot carry everyone with you, and you are not required to. Separation also creates clarity. Distance gives perspective. When you step away from noise, you can finally hear yourself think. When you remove constant influence, your values sharpen, your standards rise, your decisions become more deliberate. You stop reacting and start directing. Elevation does not come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters with focus and consistency. Every new level demands a new version of you. And that version cannot be built in the same conditions that produce the old one. Elevation requires space to stretch, to fail, to refine, and to evolve. Without separation, growth becomes crowded, conflicted, and compromised. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. You cannot keep everything and still rise. Some connections must loosen. Some environments must be left. Some versions of you must be retired. This is not loss. It is transition. And on the other side of separation is elevation, but only for those willing to let go of what no longer fits the future they are building. Discernment is a survival skill, not paranoia, and confusing the two has cost many people their peace, their progress, and their potential. Paranoia assumes danger everywhere without evidence. Discernment observes patterns, measures consistency, and makes decisions based on reality rather than emotion. One is fear-driven, the other is wisdom-driven. When you are discerning, you are not suspicious of everyone. You are simply intentional about who you trust, who you listen to, and who you allow to influence your life. Most people don't struggle because they are too guarded. They struggle because they are too open without filters. They give access before trust is earned. They share plans before alignment is proven. They accept advice without examining the source. Discernment teaches you to pause before you pour yourself into people, opportunities, and environments that have not demonstrated they deserve that level of access. That pause is not weakness, it is self-respect. Life does not give you unlimited energy, time, or focus. These are finite resources, and discernment is how you protect them. Without it, you end up explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You end up seeking validation from those who cannot see your vision. You end up carrying opinions that were never meant to guide your future. Discernment allows you to recognize when something is misaligned before it becomes destructive. Being discerning means you listen more than you speak. You watch how people act when they don't get their way. You observe how they handle pressure, success, and boundaries. You notice whether their words and actions match over time. Anyone can perform briefly. Discernment looks for consistency, not charisma. It understands that intention matters less than impact, and patterns matter more than promises. Many people label discernment as being cold or distant because it disrupts their access. When you stop oversharing, stop overcommitting, and stop over-explaining, those who benefited from your lack of boundaries will feel uncomfortable. They may accuse you of changing or being guarded. In reality, you are evolving. You are learning that not everyone needs to know everything, and not every situation deserves your full emotional investment. Discernment also helps you avoid unnecessary battles. You don't confront every issue. You don't argue every point. You don't try to correct everyone. You simply reposition yourself. You choose silence over explanation when explanation will not lead to understanding. You choose distance over drama. This is not avoidance, it is strategy. Survival is not about winning every interaction, it's about protecting your direction. As you grow, discernment becomes even more critical. The higher you rise, the more influence you attract, and not all influence is positive. Some people are drawn to proximity, not partnership. Some are curious, not committed. Some admire the results but resent the discipline required to achieve them. Discernment allows you to differentiate between those who are aligned with your growth and those who are merely attached to the benefits of being near it. The truth is, wisdom often looks like restraint. It looks like saying no without guilt. It looks like choosing privacy over performance. It looks like trusting slowly and intentionally. In a world where access is easy and opinions are loud, discernment is how you stay grounded, focused, and intact. It is not paranoia. It is the skill that allows you to move forward without losing yourself along the way. At the end of the day, your future will not be decided by chance, luck, or talent alone. It will be decided by the people you allow close to you, the voices you listen to repeatedly, and the environments you remain in longer than you should. Life rarely falls apart all at once. It erodes slowly through misplaced trust, unmanaged access, and unexamined influence. You don't need to fear people, but you do need to be wise about proximity. You don't need to isolate yourself, but you must be intentional. Growth demands discernment, courage, and the willingness to choose alignment over approval. Not everyone who started with you is meant to finish with you, and that is not a failure. It is a requirement. Protect your energy, guard your focus, audit your circle, because the greatest threat to your future is not opposition from the outside, but influence from the inside. When you choose who has access to your life with intention, you don't just avoid destruction. You create the conditions for elevation. Choose wisely. Your life depends on it.